a surprise. Bob and his wife Barbara, they're lifelong Catholics. They attend both St. Pius and St. Anthony of Padua in Fairfield. They're married 51 years old, is that it? 52. 4 kids and 12 grandchildren. Are we still at 12?
Yeah.
Certainly, you'll hear from Bob, relationships and education are very critical to Bob. Being able to make a difference in people's lives is what drives him. One of the key things he does for the diocese, he's on the board of Foundations in Education, which grants scholarships to over 1,300 elementary school children, certainly making a difference in their lives. And the one thing I know is heading up development, the bishop has a handful of key people on speed dial. Bob is certainly one of those people. I'm not sure if he wants to be on the bishop's speed dial, but God bless that Bob is on that speed dial. Bob, we thank you.
I understand you want me to talk about for half an hour and then open it up for questions. Is that what we're trying to do?
Yes.
Is that what it is? Okay. Where I like to start talks, so I like to tell people what I own today. Okay. Basically, what I own today is around 52 office buildings, around 4 million square feet. Okay. I like to say I don't have one Bentley, I have 2 Bentleys. I don't have 1 Ferrari, I have 2 Ferraris. I have a beautiful boat, Sunseeker. I have a great house in Aspen, right in the mountains. I go to Europe once or twice a year. I always bring my kids. Basically, anything I want to buy, I could buy. But when I graduated high school, I was on a 4th grade reading lesson level. Okay, 4th grade. I couldn't read. I had a hearing problem, so I couldn't develop phonetics. To this day, I can't spell anything. And kids, when I was in 4th grade in Bridgeport, Eli's house, they used to give me a quarter to say truck, because I couldn't say truck. It came out fuck, and they thought that was funny. Okay? So that's how I grew up. And then I worked as a plumber for 5 years. And my father paid me $93.50 take home for 5 years. I didn't have the nerve to ask for a raise, and he didn't give me one. Okay? So the question is, how did somebody go from that beginning to owning what I own today? Okay? So in the next half an hour or so, I want to tell you how that journey took place and how my religion played a part in it. Okay, that's what we're here for, I suppose. Okay, right? Basically, as a plumber, there are 3 things I learned as a plumber that really created the basis of my business. First one is service. Now, her name was Mrs. Monroe on Steuben Street off of East Main Street in Bridgeport. And I'll always remember the house. It was a gray house, concrete steps, a black door, a screen door with nothing in it. The windows were broke. And I knocked on the door. Mrs. Monroe opened the door. And she was a black lady. And she had 3 beautiful little boys in underwear, basically crying because they couldn't use the john. The john was plugged up. So I had my auger. Yeah, everyone knows what I'm talking about now. You know that goes into the toilet bowl. And as I'm cleaning out the toilet bowl, Mrs. Monroe is hanging on my arm, saying, "Thank you, Jesus, for sending me the plumber." Okay, imagine that scene, you know. And I realized I was actually doing Jesus' job here. She was praying to Jesus, and I came to solve the problem. Service, right? There's no substitution for service to other people. Okay, and that's where the seed of service was born in the company. Okay? The next thing I learned as a plumber was imagination, imagery. Again, it was in Bridgeport, someplace on the east side. I think it was at Eaton Street off of Berkshire Avenue. And the lady had no heat, October. And now, I went around and I counted the radiators. Anyone remember radiators? Everybody know what I'm talking about? And the reason I counted the radiators was because I had to order a new boiler, right? So if I knew the number of radiators, I knew how much heat I had to buy. So I called Maury Lipnick. I said, Maury, please send out a boiler of 300,000 BTUs and make sure a couple of people are with them because I'm by myself. So I go downstairs in the basement, and what you have to understand about oil burners at the time is that they used to be coal. So there was that much thickness of coal in the furnace. And all people did, they stopped buying coal and they stuck an oil burner in the hole. And they began to heat the house with oil, okay? So I smashed this whole thing out. I took 2 5-pound hammers and I hit the fitting at the same time so that I would pop the fitting and I saved the thread, okay? And then I took a big sledgehammer and I broke up the furnace by myself. And I had a garbage pail and a flat snow shovel, and I took everything out. So I got everything out before lunch, because the boiler was coming afterwards. Sat on the top of the steps, looking down in the furnace, into the basement. And every day I had the same sandwich. 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, an apple, and a thermos of cold water. Because actually we had no money. I ate that every day. Everyone knows what wax paper is? Okay. So I had to hold the wax paper and open my teeth because I couldn't touch the bread because I was so black. Okay? As I sat there, the sweat was running off my face and onto my arms. And I remember I looked down, it looked like a zebra, both sides. I looked down into that hole and I saw the smoke, the dust, the cold dust. And I said, I've got to use my imagination. I've got to do something else with my life. I can't do this. So your imagination is very important. Imagery. St. Thomas Aquinas says, see what you are, become what you see. Okay? What he meant by that, you are in the image of Christ, become Christ-like. I tell people, see what you are, become what you see. See yourself as a wonderful husband or a wonderful wife and become that image. What does a good mother or a good brother, a good worker or a good friend does? Okay? Image that and become what you image. Right? You have the ability to image who you want to be. Okay? Imagination. Okay? So we have service, we have imagination and compassion. Okay? I developed compassion because I bought a single reflex camera. You know what a single reflex camera is? When you look through the lens and you look through, it was new technology in '65. And I kept it on my dashboard. And I would take pictures of mainly black children. Because I worked in the black neighborhoods, and I developed an affection and a love for black people. Okay? And through the camera lens, I wanted to see the emotion of the person, the compassion of the person, how they reacted to each other. So through the lens, I was trying to understand how they would communicate with each other. Okay? I was taking thousands of pictures. Okay? And that was motivated because it was a book called The Family of Man. By 1954-55, there was an exhibit at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, about 560 pictures, and I had a book, pictures all over the world. Now you remember, I can't read, so this picture book was terrific, right? Okay. But it gave me the encouragement to go out and do that. So you had service, see what you could be, imagination, right? And compassion for others. Okay. So I'm going to skip around a little bit now, okay? I am now going to go to 1990. Okay, I started my business in 1971. In the 80s, I made a ton of money. Whew. Okay, I was living on Saskell Hill Road, and I had a butler, a cook, and a chauffeur. Okay. And I was in such a financial hole, I can't tell you. 1990, the music stopped. And one day I woke up and I owed $62.5 million to banks personally. Okay? I owed $7 million to vendors, like carpenters, okay, lawyers, that kind of thing. I had 365,000 square feet of empty space. And I was losing $500,000 a month in cash. And I was 41 years old. 43 years old. Okay, I was born in 47, so I was like 43 years old. Okay. And my real estate was 50% underwater. So in other words, if I owed $10 million on a building, it wasn't worth $5. Okay. So took me 11 years to get out of that hole. I like to tell people there's only two things that God doesn't know. He doesn't know what Jesuits are thinking. He doesn't know how I got out of that hole in 1990. Okay? I hope we don't have no Jesuits in there. Okay? Okay? So that was the hole I was in. So now I remember St. Anthony's. Number one, I took the two statues, because I had two houses on Saskell Hill Road. And I had to get rid of both of them. I forgot the name of the statue. What was it? St. Anthony? I forgot. St. Jude. St. Jude. If you wanted to sell something, you dig a hole.
St. Joseph.
St. Joseph. If you want to sell something, dig a hole and bury the statue upside down.
We don't believe in superstition.
Okay. All right.
I've done it.
I opened every door, something I didn't try to do. Okay. All right. So I buried the two statues in front of the two houses. Okay. Number one. Now, every Sunday at St. Anthony's, I used to pray to Jesus. I said, please, Jesus, get me out of this hole. Get me out, please. I said, I can't put the house on the market because everyone's going to say, Scinto's going broke. Right? This was a $7 million house, $7.5 million. It was half completed. And who's going to buy a $7.5 million house either by put it on the market? So I used to pray my guts off. I said, Jesus, please, I remember Jesus, please help. And then one day a phone call rings. I was sitting in the back room. I had a squash court overlooking the squash court. This guy calls, his name was Howard Sosa. He goes, Mr. Scinto, yeah, I said, yeah, Bob Scinto here. He goes, I was driving around and I saw your house under construction. I'd be interested to know if you'd like to sell it. So this is what I said to him. I said, Howard, I said, I'm in the construction business. And if it's good for you and it's good for me, I'd be happy to sell to you. So he says, I'm on my way to Hong Kong for 2 weeks. I'll call you when I get back. Hanged up the phone. Looked upstairs to Jesus. I said, Jesus, I'll take it from here. Thank you so much. All right, I made that deal. I'll tell you just a little real estate, okay? A little real estate. The way I made the deal is that I wouldn't sign a contract with them. And every time he called me up to talk about the contract, I said, yeah, we'll get around to it. Don't worry about it. Why do you think I never wanted to sign a contract? Because we shook hands. I said to Howard, listen, in my business, if I shake your hand, I have a deal. He goes, Bob, I'm in the derivative business. my whole business is my handshake. Okay, I said, fine, we'll shake hands. We shook hands on, I think it's, let's see, 7.8 million, okay? He's going to be 8.5 million. 8.1 million, because he gave me 5 million of the closing, and 3.1 million went into an escrow account as we got things finished, okay? So, the reason I didn't want to sign a contract is because a lot of times people have second thoughts about things. Understand? A lot of times they have, should I really do this or not? Okay, psychologically. But he can't have a second thought about this because he doesn't own it yet. See, so every time he would call me, and you gotta remember how broke I was at this time. Every time he would call me, I would say, hey, Howard, yeah, don't worry about that. I said, Howard, do me a favor. Today at 5 o'clock, come down to the job. The sun goes down right over Sasko Hill, right over the golf course. And the curve over the library, the Italians cut the stone so perfect, you can't see a ripple in the curve. I've never seen anything like it. Because see, I don't want him to back out. But the only way I can make him back out, not let him back out, is not to get him in. You understand? So he told the architect, I don't think Scinto's going to sell me the house. I think Scinto is so in love with this house that he's going to back out as soon as he gets into better shape. Okay. I said to Roger, that's what I wanted to think. Okay. Okay. I need to get him to the close. That's how I closed the transaction. Okay. All right. Now we went from everything I just told you. I sold the house to a guy named Jack Welch.
Oh, he's Cedar Heart.
He was president of GE. Right, so it was a big house, and Jack wanted to buy everything in the house, so I couldn't take anything out of the house except my underwear. Okay, right. And when I looked, bites ahead of my wife because she wanted to taste it. I said, Jack, don't touch it. I think we took 2 paintings, okay, but don't touch it. And I was so depressed. I was crying so hard, you know, crying every day. And as I was moving boxes, you know, in this house in Greenwich, I had to find a house with a ground floor because I had my wife's grandfather. He was living with us, and he couldn't walk upstairs, so I had to find a place that he could live on the ground floor. And my 3 kids were going to the Convent of the Sacred Hearts in Greenwich. Okay, so I didn't want to break that up. But I had to get out of Fairfield because everyone said I was going broke. I didn't want my kids to hear this. I didn't need this. Okay. So as I was moving boxes, you know how you move boxes? And I remember saying, oh my God, I just can't, you know, I can't put up with this. I don't know if we're going to get through this. I opened up a box in St. Anthony's in Fairfield. I gave some money and they gave me the head of Jesus. You know, that you've seen, you know, with the crown and the blood and all that. And as I'm saying, I can't handle this anymore, I opened up the box and there was the head of Jesus because I forgot what was in the box. And I said, if this ain't a sign, I don't know what a sign is, okay? All right, this is a sign, okay? And at that moment, I knew I was going to be okay. I remember going to see a psychiatrist one time, you know, in Fairfield. Yeah, because my doctor, I knew I couldn't sleep. I was walking, so what I was doing, I was coming home at 6, 7 o'clock every night, and then I would walk for 5 miles. So I could exhaust myself so I could sleep. I didn't want to take any sleeping pills. Okay, you know, I was trying not, you know. And so I was talking, so the doctor wanted me to go see the psychiatrist. So I go see the psychiatrist. And I walk in, he had a picture of 3 beautiful boys. Now, even in my depression, I'm trying to make someone feel good. So I said, oh, doctor, are those your kids? He goes, yes. I said, well, they're beautiful kids. Congratulations. He goes, we're here to talk about you, not me. Huh? And I said, I'm paying you? It sounds like you may need me more than I need you. Okay, all right? All right? That's what it sounds like, okay? So I sit down, I told him what I was going through, the anxieties, the fear. And he said, hey Bob, let me explain something to you. The fear you're experiencing is the same fear you would experience if someone told you you're dying. Because in your mind, you're dying. Because your status, your success is tied to your financial conditions. Okay? And you're losing all that. And you think you're dying. So that's how you feel this way. Okay? Wow, that was terrific. Okay? Because now I know why I'm feeling this way. Right? And I remember looking at the clock, and it was about 10 minutes after the hour, right? Right? And I wanted to get out of there, okay? I'm done with you, pal, okay? All right? You know? So I bullshit him through the rest of the hour and got out of there, and that was the end of that, okay? But that was my story on that. So I think that, I think my faith was, I think the thing you want to always do is pray for more faith. I think we all struggle a little bit with it. I mean, you're human nature, you struggle with it. But, at the end of the day, I just, believe, that we're here for a purpose, we're here to serve other people. And I've been very fortunate. I've had the very best people work for me. Just fortunate. I only have one quality. I buy brains better than anybody else. Okay? Everyone who works for me is smart, hardworking, I mean, I'm amazed, and I pay them very well. When someone's with you 35 years, you can't look at if you're my receptionist or you've been with me 35 years, I might be paying you $80,000 a year, the job is worth 40, okay, but I'm paying you 80 because you are no longer an employee, you're a partner. You've been with me all this time. So you need to benefit from the growth of the company, okay? So I've always looked at that way. I always ask, I give raises every year, and I'll give a raise based on the fact that what I would pay you if you came in to say, Bob, I found another job, okay? I think the worst conversation, if someone's found another job and the guy goes, what is it gonna take to keep you? Huh? We should have asked that question before you lost him. So I never feel that way. I mean, no one's ever left because, I pay one person by $250,000 a year. The job on the market is $130. All right? But that person's been with me. So that's why I don't lose anybody. And we have great people. So those are, the basic philosophy of the company and how we've done well. I'll just tell you a real estate story, and then I'll open it up for questions. Okay. I had a building in Bridgeport, 1,000 Lafayette. Okay, I built it. I owed about $12 million on the building. I used to owe $25 million, and the bank wrote it down to 12 and a half because it was so underwater, and I lost $12 million on the building. So it was about even anyway. Someone in my office says, we can sell Bridgeport. I said, that's not possible. He goes, no. We have some very good tenants in the building. We had FBI, we had Federal Reserve, the Internal Revenue, we had not People's Bank, but Bank of Scotland. RBS, okay? Big tenant, okay? So here we go. Norman Feinstein at $22.9 million for the building. Okay? But he wanted to meet the tenants. I said, okay. So he met Charlie Needles and Cooper. He was a lawyer. They both went to Harvard, so they had a little connection there. Okay? Then he goes to meet Jones first. Dennis Jones. We go up to his office. Dennis Jones is from Scotland, so he's got that accent. And he says, I love this building. I love the workforce. They could take buses. You know, in Scotland, everyone takes buses. Okay? He goes, in fact, I love it so much that from Edinburgh, I'm having shipped over here the same carpet that we have in the corporate headquarters. We're going to redo all the floors. They took up 7 of 11 floors, and their lease was up in 3 years or 4 years, right? So I'm saying to myself, why am I selling this building? Well, he's talking about, you know, how much he loves it. Okay. So we get out of the car and we're driving up to my office in Shelton, where we are here, because Norman Feinstein wanted me to manage the building because I knew everything about it. I built it, and I wanted to show him how I did it. On the way up, he says, "Do you think Royal Bank of Scotland is going to renew their lease in 4 years?" Now, how do you answer that? If you said no, that's why I'm selling it, I ain't going to do the deal, is it? But if you said yes, they're going to renew the lease, he would then say, well, why are you selling it? So you couldn't answer each other question. So what I did is I put my hand on his knee. Everyone reach across someone, put your hand on someone's knee. Do it. All right? Put your hand on someone's knee. Okay, you can do it. Okay? Put your hand on his knee. Shake it a little bit. That's what I did. Now, you know why I did that? Because Aristotle said the most sensitive sense you own is touch. Okay? Not sight, hearing, touch, not smell, touch. Because when you look at something, I don't know if that's hot or cold until I touch it. I don't know if that's light or heavy until I try to lift it. So touch transfer the true meaning of the situation. Okay? So I touched his knee and shook it. I said, you know, Norm, that is known as the $22.5 million bet. You're betting they're going to renew their lease. I'm betting I don't know. Because if I knew they're going to renew this lease, there's no way you would buy this for $22.5 million. And he nodded his head and he goes, they're going to renew it. I said, oh, Jesus Christ, thank you, Jesus. Okay? Right? Just like that. Exit 13 is what I went across. I said, oh, thank you, Jesus.
Are they still there?
Of course, no, they were moved. Of course, they didn't stay there.
They're
Okay?
Stanford now, right?
Right. Well, no, they well, I knew they were going away. I didn't know. Anyway, I closed with them in August the 15th. September the 15th, I had a boat ride scheduled. I have this beautiful boat that I told you about. I take tenants out on the boat. I do about 40 trips a year, so I work my guts off. Okay. And I had a trip scheduled with Dennis Jones and his wife in the company, and so I didn't cancel it, even though I owned the building, I was managing it, so I took it. Now Dennis, well, my son, he would tell you, he's a little picky. Okay, he had food all over, and he's the only guy that when we go to buy ice cream, he says, "Can I have a banana split instead of a cone?" Oh my God, like anyway. So anyway, I'm standing outside the restaurant. Dennis is going to the bathroom. I say to Mrs. Jones, I said, Mrs. Jones, how do you like Westport? She goes, oh, I love Westport. I wish I could do the accent. I said, oh, I love Westport. But I can't wait to go home. My 2 granddaughters, I've never seen them. I can't wait to go home. I said, well, someday you get home. Oh, no, not someday, March the 1st. Dennis's contract is up March the 1st, and we're going home. So here's this guy who just told Norman Feinstein that I'm gonna love this building. He already knew he was out of here in 3 months, okay? My palms still sweat when I think about the story, okay? But anyway, I think that one answer I gave, was worth $22.5 million. So that was a big answer. And I think maybe what I like to do is open it up for some questions at this point, because I don't want to take more time. I got thousands of stories. I can talk here for 10 hours. I've been doing this 50 years.
That's awesome.
I started with rooming houses, collect the rents. First house, Mrs. Schatz. I was a plumber. Mrs. Schatz says to me, Bob, why did you buy this rooming house? Everyone knows what a rooming house is?
Yeah.
You know, you rent one room, you share a bathroom, share a kitchen. It's the most elementary type of real estate. Okay, people pay by the week. Whew, there you go. So I said, Mrs. Schatz, I said, I have no money. I make $93.50 a week. You know what she said to me? She said, the way you work, you don't need money. So she got a bank a loan of 25, she wanted 37.5. So she went in, Gene Hopkins Mechanics and Farmers. She got me a loan for $25,000, right? And she lent me $12,500, so I need no money to buy the house. She just wanted to get out of it. See, a rooming house was the worst real estate to own, because on paper, when anybody says to you this term, on paper, everyone look around right now. Look around over there. What is that? See a red sign? What does it say? Get out of the room. Exit the room, because anyone can put anything on paper. Okay, on paper, rooming house looks like you make a ton of money until you got to collect the rents and make the repairs. Then there's no money. Right? So, and then at the closing, she had to give me another $1,000 because I couldn't pay the lawyer. Right? I mean, and the legal fees and all that crap. So anyway, that's how I got started. Begin collecting rents. So that every time I went to a rooming house, I would say to the owner, I don't have any money, but if you ever want to sell this and give me a mortgage, I will try to look at it for you. Right? You ever see a Jack in the Box jump up? Mm-hmm. They all jump up. One could you close, okay? So anyway, collecting rents on Friday night when you're 24 years old from someone who is 57, who's drunk out of their mind, like Bob Moore was drunk every Friday night, okay? And I remember talking to Bob, I'd say, Bob, you gotta give me the money. I don't keep the money. I go and I give the bank some money. I give some to Mrs. Shaw's. I have no money left, but you have to pay. I said, Bob, do you have the $37.50? He goes, I have it right here. Then I'll spend as much time as I need to get that $37.50, okay? So after dealing with those people, these corporate guys are okay? All right? Those are training. Okay, let me open it up for any type of questions about anything. I'll try to help you any way I can. Let me ask you one question to just really help you a little bit. Why do people do business with you? Give me an answer. You.
What service?
Huh?
What service?
What's you?
Provide a better service. than
Okay,
this guy.
here's the answer.
They like me.
Because they like you. That's the answer. Okay? So I give all young people that I talk to a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Okay? That's the first thing. You gotta be likable. There's 6 things for you to do to be likable. Only one of the 6 I can't teach you. Are you genuinely interested in other people? Okay? If you are, that's the beginning of being likable. You gotta be likable. You gotta be funny. You gotta be likable. Okay? Now, if you're not generally interested in other people, become an accountant. I hope there's no accountants. Are you? All right. Didn't need that. But, that's it. And then the other book I give is The Road Less Traveled, okay, by Scott Peck, 25 million copies. Why is the book so important? The first 3 words of the book sold 25 million copies. Life is difficult. But once you understand, it's no longer difficult. And what's the secret of living an effective life? Your ability to solve problems. Okay? I always walk in the morning, any problems. There's 4 disciplines to solve any problem. Once you have those 4 disciplines, you can solve any problem. And in that book, I had the best definition of where God is. God is in your subconscious. Okay? And I always love that thought, because if you ever look at the ceiling of Saint Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, if you ever look at the ceiling where God is giving the finger, right? The cloud is in the brain, is in the shape of a brain. So I always thought that Michelangelo also knew where God was in the subconscious, right? So my own Lord connecting the dots, okay? Right. So so I always loved that thought, you know. And then the other book that I tell everybody to read is The 7 Habits of How We Affected People. Okay, you know, proactive. Don't use words. I have to be here tonight. I chose to be here tonight. Watch your language. Okay, when someone's talking, see what pronouns they use. If it's always I instead of us, this is a problem. Okay, pay attention. You know. Begin with the end in mind. Okay, is the best one. Begin with the end in mind. In the book, it says, pretend you go to a funeral, and you see someone in the coffin that knows that you knew, that knew everyone in the room. You know, you sit down, but the person in the coffin is really you. And 4 people are going to talk about you. What are they going to say? That's the end. What are they going to say about you? Okay? You know, first things first, it's very important, is where you spend your time. You're spending your time right here tonight. This is valuable. This is the most valuable asset you have, is your time. Now, I've been doing this a long time, so I'm going to ask you, in that part of the book, it says the enemy of the best is often the good. Now, in all the years I've done this, I've never heard anyone answer that question, so I don't expect an answer here. Does anyone want to try to answer that? No, don't try. I told you about my boat, taking tenants out. Why it's so great for me, so good for my business. Because not only do I make you look good, but you bring 10 people with you. But I get to meet 10 people, and I can run around, and I can service them, I drink, show them how the boat works. Okay? I reconnect with my tenants. Okay? So good for my business. But the best thing I should be is being home with my wife and my kids. Okay? So there's trade-offs. All right? The other habit is think win-win. You want to make sure you have a relationship with people that both people feel good. Yeah. The next habit is very important. Is learn how to listen. Listen for the purpose of understanding the other person. See, listening is very difficult. Reading. What happens if you don't understand something if you read it? What happens? What do you do?
I'll ask a question.
No?
Read it again.
Read it again. You go back and reread it. Now, whoever wrote it had someone proofread it, read it, right? This is something else, okay? So most of the time you're reading things that someone's already proofread that makes sense, right? You don't have that ability when you listen. You only have one shot to pick up what the person's telling you. So I really focus on the voice and on the turn, how the accent works. I have a theory that no one tells you the truth. Okay? They're afraid to. They don't have the courage. So you got to figure it out from how they're talking to you. And you can only do that by listening. And you know what most people do when they're listening? They'll wait for the sound waves to stop so they can talk. True, right? Okay. All right. So that's a real discipline. Synergy is the 6th habit. Synergy is just when 1 and 1 equals 20. Basically, the story is everyone is exhausted on a vacation. They're about to go home. They're really tired and aggravated. You know how everyone is at the end of a vacation, right? And all of a sudden, the plane's been canceled. So now you all come together You go check for luggage, you go find an apartment for us, you get a rental car, go to see what the next plane or train is. Everyone comes together, okay? And the last habit is called sharpening the saw. The saw, okay? And that's three things you need to do. You need to physically work out and take care of yourself, physically. Okay? You need to walk, you need to exercise, you need to work. You need to work out 3-4. I work out 5 times a week. The only day I don't work out is Sundays. Okay? Because you cannot work the way I work without energy and strength. Okay? You have to read good books, good biographies, to get encouraged by great people. Okay? And then you have to spend some time with your God. Okay? Now every morning I say my prayers. I light a candle to St. Anthony, and I have a prayer book, and then I have my monthly book that comes in the mail with all the different gospels. We read each. Now, if I do my prayers right, it should take me 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Sometimes I cheat. Okay? It takes me about 3 minutes, depending on the conditions. Okay, all right. But I have the candle, and every night, every day, rather, every morning, when I blow out the candle and I see the smoke, this is the thought I have every morning. Am I going to die today? Because I think about my death every day. Now, why do I do it? Because I want to make sure everyone around me, everyone I meet, I want to make sure what they mean to me and how much I love them. Because today could be the last day. Okay, so I don't want to miss today. I don't want to miss that opportunity. Okay, so that comparison of knowing that you're going to die gives you purpose of living. Right? We take it for granted. We don't think about it, especially your health. You don't think about it. Okay, that's my talk. Now I'm going to open it up for some questions. Okay. You can ask me any questions. First one, go ahead.
Thanks for the talk. I was most interested in the part where you were describing how your state of depression was linked to your financial situation and how that turned itself around. But it sounds like it turned itself around by your financial situation improving. I was just wondering if you were able to free yourself from that mindset and sort of derive your value from something other than your financial situation.
I don't understand the question, so I need one more.
I'll expand a little more.
Yeah.
If the real estate market crashed, if everything you owned started getting wiped out, would you return to that state of depression?
No.
Or would you
because
be in a different
I
time?
realize it means nothing. What means everything is my kids, my health.
Well, that guy for 10 minutes, he taught you.
Yeah.
He was that psychiatrist.
Yeah. Okay. Everything here is bullshit. Okay. All right. Is your health? It's your health and your family and the relationships. You know, everything else. I look at those poor people in Ukraine. Okay. Whew. Imagine sitting here in this place bombing while we're giving this talk.
Or
Please.
Turkey or Syria.
Okay. So you learn what's relevant, what's important. Okay. That's See, everything I had and I lost, I can have again if I stay focused. Every day I left the house with 5 brochures in this pocket, 5 brochures in this pocket, and everybody I met, I would say, here's a brochure. If you know anyone looking for space. Every night I would go out. Every night I would go out to someplace. Boys Club meeting, United Way, anything. Downtown Cabaret benefit. And I would go in the room and I would walk around and say, hey, what do you do for a living? I'm a dentist. Oh, terrific. Do you like your location? Oh yeah, I love it there. Okay, terrific. Nice to meet you. Okay? I would go around and find someone who says, I don't like my location, I like to move. Well, you don't want to move? Okay? But I will I will work. I used to go in the room and say, there's a tenant in here, I'm going to find him. One time I was playing tennis. This guy has his t-shirt on, it says Fairfield Graphics. I said, Fairfield Graphics? you guys are looking for space, aren't you? So he goes, who told you that? So I go, I have sources. He goes, no, don't tell me you have sources. I got 3 guys that work for me. And I told them, we got to get out of here. We need more space. But don't tell anybody, because I don't want 1,000 brokers down here. So I want to know, who of those 3 guys told you? And I said, sir, you told me. If that's that Coca-Cola on it, I would say, hey, Coke, I understand you're looking for space. Now, how much do you need? Didn't go anyplace.
Did you get it?
Oh, of course not. Crazy, pissed off. One time I was trying to make a deal with Sikorsky. And the chairman of Sikorsky was on the board of People's Bank, president. And I had a building that was perfect for them, but I couldn't get there because Dick Bonham at the time wanted to go someplace else. He was the real estate guy, of course. And they were telling him my building wasn't going to be ready. So I called up People's Bank. I said, tell me, when's your next board meeting? He told me. This girl told me. I said, fantastic. Then I called up the secretary, Mr. Big, and I said, Mr. Big, what does Mr. Big like to do? He loves to hunt sheep. Okay? Sheep. I said, oh, okay. Now, sheep is like the bighorn. You understand? They call them sheep. All right. So I go to the library. I get a book on hunting, index, sheep. Now I read. Now there's 2 kinds. There's the Grand Slam, which is 4 heads, sheep, and the Super Grand Slam, which is 8. The Super Grand Slam you can virtually not do any longer because 4 of the sheep is in Iran, so you can't hunt there anymore. Okay, so right now the secret of hunting sheep is to get above them and shoot down because their enemies are below, so they don't look above. I have now told you everything I know about sheep. Now I'm standing in front of the elevator, and I'm pretending to press the button, but I'm not taking this elevator until Mr. Big walks around the corner. Okay, so I see Mr. Big walking around the corner, and then I press the elevator as if I'm going up. So now, hello, Mr. Big. Bob Scinto. Oh yeah, hi Bob. And then we start talking. And then I got him to talk about sheep. Imagine, it's only 16 floors in this elevator, okay? I got him into the conversation. I got him talking about sheep, about hunting. I told him what I just know, but he talked, he loved it, okay? Now we're standing outside the elevator on the 17th floor, whatever floor it was at the time. And we're going back and forth, and I said, you know, someone's hunting. I said, you have to get to a board meeting. I said, but you know, your people are looking at one of my buildings. I hope I get some consideration. Oh, I didn't know that. What building is that? He goes, does Dick know about it? Well, you tell Dick that I talked to you and I want to make sure we look at it. Of course, I didn't make that deal either. Dick wasn't too happy having to go look at the building. How do you get to Mr. Big? Guys, don't worry about that. Okay. So anyway, that's how hard I worked. Okay? I mean, you think this is easy? All right. So, next question. Anybody else?
Is that what you meant by imagination?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, go ahead, honey.
Faith in the workplace. Like, how do you feel? Like, I always get hesitant. Like, I would love to have a crucifix on my desk. Like, I don't know. I get like really like.
If you come to my office, I have a crucifix behind my desk.
Yeah.
All right? I have,
should I go from like leadership, like, go from, say, you're my boss,
No,
okay, then it's okay.
no, listen, you want to put, I think, you know, you put a cross on your desk so you remember why you're here and what you're doing.
I mean, people know, like, I'm very,
I understand,
like,
but what you don't want to do is you don't want to promote. You want to give by example,
right.
okay?
But so having a crucifix on the desk.
It's just say, listen, I believe in Christ, I believe in his teachings.
Because I literally have, like,
Yeah.
it almost kind of like
Yeah, it's
in a
wonderful.
drawer
It's
that I open.
absolutely wonderful. Okay, it's wonderful. You know, have the confidence in your convictions. Don't use it as if you're better than anybody because you're doing this.
Right.
Okay? You're doing it because it helps you remember why you're here.
Right.
Okay? Big difference, okay? You know, don't wear your religion on your sleeve. Wear it in your heart.
I do, I know, but I just get hesitant.
I know, that's okay. No, honey, it's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's what we're missing today.
I know.
Right? And there's no
I know.
question. The
And
reason this
people
country's
are
going
gonna
down the
say we're
pot
against it.
is that they're taking God out of the system. That's the left and that's communism. Okay? That's what it's all about. All right? Because see, when you have God, you have personal responsibility. You answer to a higher authority. The communists and the left wants you to answer to the state. It's very simple. Yes, you're next.
Yeah, all right, so you're one of the stories that's like compared to like Steve Jobs walking out of his garage, right, self-starter.
Yeah.
Look at majority of my generation. Most of them are going to college, most of them are getting education. What would you say is a thing that's lacking in their coming out of college and looking at work? what's lacking in
Common
their skill set?
sense in college have done nothing but had the leftist program. Okay? I mean, they do not, I tell people don't go to college. It's a waste of time. Absolute waste of time. Go get a job, learn to sell something. You go to college, you walk away from college with a, here's the statistics. 40% of the student loans never graduated college. 40% of the student loans. Of those that are there, 40% of that group got a job that they didn't need a college education for. All right? So it's my generation, only 8% of the people went to college. Okay? College today, it doesn't teach you anything. They want to indoctrinate you. Okay, they want you to think that this is the way, that God isn't important.
Well, I went to Sacred Heart.
Okay.
And I graduated in 2007. It's changed
Yeah.
crazy amounts since then. But you couldn't find a crucifix in any of the classrooms.
Sacred Heart is only Catholic in name.
It's true. And
Only,
I
you know,
remember
and
being
it's
there
a
being
marketing
like,
tool, all right? The bishop's not involved in Sacred Heart, all right? Because the church has no control over what Sacred Heart does or says. That's a problem. Go ahead.
So I guess my question is related to that. So when we are in the workplace and we are faced with an opportunity towards success, but that success might require us to hide our Catholic identity or make a choice that may not necessarily be popular because it is, it doesn't espouse like the values of success in society and this and that. What's your guidance for our generation to kind of navigate that, right? Because you can make a choice that may be guaranteed towards success or a choice that might be more in line with our Catholic faith. And how do we navigate that in a way when our ultimate goal is to be successful, to bring about the glory of God?
Bring about what?
Glory of God.
Okay.
If that's our goal, but there seems to be a divergence in the path.
You know, that's like the road less traveled.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, and at the end of the day, you know, you have to do your conscience. You have to believe, we believe it, you believe it's something. And you have to stay focused on what you believe. And everything else will work out. And if the situation isn't good, get out of there, go someplace else. You know? Learn to, find a job that you can be your own boss. Okay? You can develop your own business. You know, I tell people, that's the whole secret of wealth. Is working for yourself. At the end of the day, learn what you're doing and then go out and do it for yourself. That's the secret. Okay, next, sir.
If I may connect to that point, and thank you for sharing all your life experience tonight. You've done such a huge real estate empire, and you focus mostly, if I'm mistaken, in commercial, not in residential.
I've done some residential, but go ahead.
And there might be several reasons for that. But today the market is like very different from when you started, and it has changed on the decades. So if a young entrepreneur in real estate would want to start today, what would be your advice to where to niche or where to start?
Very simple. Go buy a 3-family. All right? Fix it up, paint it, and rent it. Basis. One time, I was on the cover, 1987, I was on the cover of Connecticut Magazine. How to Succeed in Business by Really Trying was the head of the article. I was on the cover. I get a phone call from a guy. He says, I'd like to come to work with you, Mr. Scinto. I said, well, I'm in the basement at 2209 Main Street. I'm in the basement of an apartment building in Bridgeport. Okay, not only that, but the bums used to come in and pee in the hallway, so the place smelled like shit, okay? That's where I was. So he goes, can I send you my resume? Swear to God story. 1987. I still have the poster. Okay? Here's his resume. He graduated from Yale, architectural degree, 6-year degree. He goes on to Harvard Business. He has a degree from Harvard Business. He goes back to Yale and he gets a law degree from Yale. So when he calls me back on the phone, I said, is this resume for real or do you make all this up? Remember, I couldn't read. I said, 4th grade reading level. Good. Mr. Scinto, I'll have the school send you my transcripts. I said, not necessary. Go, well, can I come and see you? So I said, sure. I wanted to see what this guy looks like. So the guy comes in. So I said to him, I said, let me ask you something. Why do you want to come and work for me? He goes, well, I think you're making a lot of money, and I want to make a lot of money in real estate. I said, well, didn't they teach any of this at Harvard Business? He goes, no, they don't teach real estate at Harvard Business. Real estate's like, that's only for the Italians. So I said to him, let me ask you something. When you came down those steps, there wasn't any sign over the door that said university, wasn't it? Something I missed? Just think about what you're asking me to do. You're asking me to teach you my business so that you can go out and compete with me. Do you think that's smart of me to do this? He goes, well, I thought you liked someone who would have experience, a great resume. I said, I don't need a great resume. I need someone who could paint, do this, picture me. Okay? But here's a guy who had all this education and thought he was going to go into real estate. And I told him, I said, you want to go into real estate? Buy a 3-family. Quick rents every month, make a mortgage payment. In the beginning, my goal, after I bought my first one, was to buy a piece of property every 6 months. That was my goal. Okay, and then after I did it a couple of times, I said, I'm going to buy a property every 3 months. All right? So I kept changing my goal. Yeah. And if I had to do it over again, I would only stay with apartments. Just the way apartments are warehouses. I wouldn't do any of this business, this office business. See, apartments, 2 reasons for apartments. If you have 30,000 foot tenant, I can lose 30,000 feet at one time, right? Tenant moves. But if I have 31 bedroom apartments, I can't lose 31 bedroom apartments at one time. Now, if you go into Tower 2 right now, I'm remodeling for Subway. I'm spending about $80 to $100 a square foot to remodel the space. So at $90,000, it's cost me $9 million. I have to gut all the space and rebuild it. No one ever walks into an apartment and says, can you move the bathroom to the other side? I like the kitchen a little bit bigger. Okay? All right? No one does that. The other thing about apartments is the longer you own them, the better the clientele is. So the secret is not to raise rents, but to keep the apartments rented. Right? So apartments is the best and warehouse is the second best. Because warehouse, you don't have any capital improvements. Warehouse space. I'm making more money building warehouses than anything else. All right? Any other questions?
What do you say, and I'm on the older side compared to this group, to the younger people, you talked about your love of your family, you gotta work really hard. Any lessons that you've learned on how to balance both of those sometimes conflicting things?
You know, I'm so lucky. I got my kids working with me now. I got 2 kids working with me now. You know? And it's the second bite of the apple. I've never spent any time with my kids growing up. I mean, I was there, but I was working. And then in the 1990s, I was, you know. So, is the enemy of the best is often the good, where you spend time. You have to learn, how important your children are. Anyone here have kids? Anyone have kids? Yeah. The most important thing in your life you do is your kids. Phew. That's everything. Your family, and that's what's really valuable. Those are the assets. When you die, no one's gonna know. None of these boys are gonna know I was here. My kids are gonna remember, but not the buildings. Okay. But I think that's all I can say about that. Just develop good relationships. Find friends that want the best for you. That want you to do well. The worst kind of friends is you're afraid to tell them good news about yourself. Those aren't friends. You gotta get rid of that relationship. And the only thing you want, don't compare yourself to anybody. You know who you should compare yourself to? Only one person. You know who? Who you were last year. Are you better than the person you were last year? That's the only thing you should care about. Okay? All right? That's who you should compare yourself to. Listen, there's so many people who do this job so much better than me, with more abilities than me. Okay? I can't compare myself to them. Dirty Harry. You ever see that movie, Dirty Harry? He was my favorite philosopher. And he says a man must know his limitations. Someone says, "Well, Bob, you ever thought about doing deals in Chicago and New York?" I said, "You crazy?" All right.
Well, Connecticut thanks you, though.
Oh, I know.
We need you.
All right, it's way past the time, Val. I give you all I have, right? Did I give it all I have?
Yes, you did.
Thank you, Rob.
I want to thank you for asking me. And if you ever need, remember, there's only 2 kinds of people. Only 2 kinds. Ready? Tenants and potential tenants. And a lot of you are potential tenants, okay? That's it. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bob. I might remind, hopefully everyone knows what tomorrow is.
It's Ash
And to your point before, I love Ash Wednesday, because that's a day
Go
that
to mass in the morning.
that
Go to work.
people are gonna know, and I always like to get my ashes early in the day, because we want people to know that
We're all sinners.
And you know what I do?
So I would encourage everyone, please, by the way, the bishop, he's saying mass at the cathedral at 12 tonight. So if you didn't know which mass you wanted to go to, that's the one I'm gonna be at. So
Say a word of bishop for me. We're so lucky to have this bishop.
He's the best.